Journal Night.
How are we doing, everyone? Monday the 18th of August, another massive week for the famous Glasgow Rangers. I'm Ryan, I'm your host tonight. For my sins, I'm joined by Jock tonight. How are you, Jock?
I'm good, mate. Good to be here, and as you say, it's a big week for the club, so looking forward to talking about it.
Brilliant. Billy, how are you keeping, mate?
Good. We seem to have more big games at the start of the season than the end of the season these days. Hopefully that changes this year.
It's always a big game when you're the biggest team in the land, mate. Finally, Ross, how are you, mate?
I'm good, thanks, Ryan. Yeah, good. Glad to be on, lads. I've had a word with myself in the mirror. I'm going to be positive today. I've been slightly negative and can't help feeling this dark cloud over me. But yeah, let's get into it and enjoy it.
Yeah, well, the number one rule of the night is we're not going to mention the weekend, right? I promise, and I've been given a vote of confidence by the powers that be that we're not to mention the weekend under any circumstances. And College believe I'm actually not in the Loudon. Believe it or not, this is the Penny Arcade in the Round. So welcome to everyone to my abode. So we're going to talk about left backs. Topical conversation. We seem to left ourselves a wee bit short on the ground, but with the announcement yesterday was sound Jaden McComa, I think is the name we pronounced it. Joe, what was your first impression? What was your first reaction when the announcement came through?
I'm just glad that we've got somebody that's natural position as left back in, considering we've punted two already and left one in limbo in terms of red band. So it's good to get a naturally left-sided left back, and regardless of the sort of profile he is, quite young, probably still a bit raw, but it's good to have that have that position covered now.
Yep. Speaking of profile, Billy, obviously I don't expect many of us to have heard of him. I'm not going to put you in the spot and ask if you had. But does he tick the boxes for you? Is this the kind of profile that we should be looking for moving forward?
Yeah, but he looks like the backup. He looks like the number two that we developed during the season. I still think we're short of a first choice left back. So it's good to have a specialist in the position, albeit someone that's only played maybe a dozen senior games. So he's a guy you would like to see coming in during the season in low pressure games or getting, like 30 minutes here or there. I'm not sure, looking at the profile, he's a guy that I feel I would want to throw into a big European game, or that I would be hoping would be our first choice left back by the time we play Celtic. But as a backup, he's the profile the 49ers like. He's young, he's got room to grow, he's come up in a good league, but he is light in experience. So for me, he's a backup, and I still would like to see he's got another one in.
Yep. Would you go with that as well, Ross? A backup? Do you think we've possibly left ourselves a wee bit short on the ground here, considering how big a week we've got, how big a month we've got coming up?
Yeah, I think so. I would hope, and look, I echo what the lads have said there. I would hope that the money that's been talked about for Jeff Day is substantial enough that can be reinvested into an experienced, even from our league, a left back that is durable, that will stand the season, that is sort of has a proven track record. I think we've already taken a risk in a number of positions. So you look at the wingers, Mikey Moore, Gassama, probably untested in sort of competitive environment in terms of European football, and at a real top level. I think Ampman's probably more of a proven track record. And I just don't want to be taking gambles all over the park. I know it's been mentioned, I've seen it a lot on Twitter today, and it was something that I raised as well, that you don't want to be going into the start of next season with another defensive rebuild. I know there's another window in January that you could strengthen, but I'm just hoping that we get someone in, and as Billy says, this lad comes in and kind of grows and has his moments to shine throughout the year, but not necessarily our first choice left back.
Yeah, definitely. Well, listen, you've led me nicely on. We're just going to quickly bring up the boys' profile here and see what you think on. I'm going to pull off, first of all, the first one. This actually terrifies me, right? If you take Mahoma, right, and if Mikey Moore starts in left mid, 17 and 19 years old, I'm 42. I don't even have the combined age of what potentially could be the left-hand side of our park. So that's something personally for me that worries me. But Joe, is there anything, obviously, you see the kind of wheel on the right-hand side there. Pick a stat out there, talk me through. What do you think?
Interceptions is high. That's good. That would indicate that he'd be able to sort of read the game and read the play and intercept the ball and stop things developing and then potentially start us on a counter-attack. But his pass accuracy is 82%, but is that a pass accuracy between him and his the boy on his right hand side, where they're just passing back and forward like we've seen already this season? I think it just, obviously looking at it, it just screams out that game time is what he's missing, and obviously that's something we're going to try and offer him when he's up the road here with us.
Yep. Billy, pick something out there. I'm looking at attacking flair. I think something we've actually been kind of stifling our fullbacks on this season is their attacking flair. We've not really seen our fullbacks getting much over the halfway line and getting up and supporting. Really, as attacking flair as such, it seems that we're relying on our wingers for that. What's your kind of take on that one, mate?
I mean, I hope he has it. The thing that just screams to me is that this is such a limited data set. That if this was a guy coming in, an established pro, and he'd only played 18 games for us, you'd expect to have an idea what he's like and to be settled into the team. That's his career so far. It's no harm with the guy because he's 19, so you can't fault him for that. But I think reading too much into the data full stop, we're talking about the passes, what kind of passes. What I would hope is that everything we've seen about the profile that the 49ers like and that Thelwell's looking at is that sort of athletic, fast, attacking type of play, the type of play you see at Leeds. So I'm hoping that he fits that mould. I'm still just looking at the 12 games last season and thinking they obviously are seeing attributes they like. They're obviously seeing things they think they can coach, and they're going to want someone that they can sell at a higher value. The thing for me, again, that just screams out is I wouldn't judge anyone in 18 games because 18 games or 12 games last season, that'll tell you things like how someone does in a certain game against certain opposition. Won't tell you how they would do in a high-pressure cup game or the last 20 minutes up at Pittodrie when they're maybe trying to get an equaliser or, like an Old Firm game. So things like temperament, etc., that are just so vital at Rangers, we're only really going to find out as he plays for us. And yeah, it looks like he's got the attacking sort of intent we would like, but whether he can deliver it at Rangers, that's why for me he just looks like a number two, and I really hope we're not relying on him for tomorrow or for the Celtic game. But yeah, in theory, I mean, he's got the pros, he's got the cons, but I just wouldn't judge anyone in that sort of data set.
Yeah. Ross, I'm going to come to you in this comment because this is actually something that I believe that John Adams is completely right. You were plugging holes with loans, and I don't know if we're maybe trying to play the financial fair play rules, but if you actually look across our back line, we've got two guys who we actually own in Sutton and Tavernier who are both out of contract. We've got Jigger, and we've got obviously got McComa now, and it's there. We've got Aarons in on loan. Do you think we're setting ourselves up here? Really, that are we actually planning to stay well? Doing as well as he can do as far as planning is concerned. Would you have expected us to sign more permanent guys, or do you think this is a necessary evil at the moment?
Yeah, I think that the former of what you mentioned there. So I think that what I expected and through the rumours that I'd heard, this window was to steady the ship, plug the holes in terms of the areas that needed immediate attention, get us working, get us playing into the style of football, and then supplement that with future windows. That's what I thought the plan of attack was. When you're signing players on loan like this, the only way I can describe it is it's like the last day of your holiday. It's still pretty good, but you've got your luggage in the reception. You go in at 8 o'clock that night. It's still like pretty fun sat around the pool, but you know what's coming. Do you know what I mean? It's almost like you can't enjoy it fully because you can't really get into it. And I feel like a little bit like that. I think just going back to and to answer your question, yes, I would have expected more, and I still think there will be more, to be honest. I think probably what will happen is we'll maybe look at someone that's more of a versatile defender that can play a number of positions, and I have a feeling that's maybe what Noble Mendy was going to be, a potential player at left back if needed, but also primarily a centre back. Also, you've got to remember we've got Sterling to come back in. Don't know whether he'll ever be played in a left back role. I wouldn't like to see it, but it's an option, I guess. I still think there'll be names that are going out the door, so I definitely think there'll be more coming in. I think left back will be someone they really want to nail down. I actually think potentially this lad would have been coming regardless of Jeff Day going. I think it was probably someone that they earmarked and thought, right, this guy's someone that would like to get in, great to get in minutes, but also he can offer a lot. I think the stats that impressed me the most about him probably not the ones on this page. I think they're the ones that say that he's played it for England. It does say at the bottom, but he has played at England youth squads throughout his progression as a young player. He's still obviously very young, and he's someone that worked with Martin. So we kind of have to trust him here and put our faith in what he's saying, and that he knows this sort of player will come in and be at the level that's expected. But yes, to go back to, I do echo what was said. I wouldn't like to see him in a cup final against Celtic or a tough sort of knockout game in the Champions League. I think it would just be a step too much, considering he was on loan at Preston last year. But obviously Brentford have seen something in him, and they're a high flying team in the Prem, so there must be a player in there.
Yeah, totally agree with you. Just quickly move on to this next slide here we've got, guys. This is just basically comparing what we call against who we've got, either in the building or just about to leave the building. We can see there. Apologies that the right might be a little bit small for folk maybe are watching the mobile phones and stuff like that. But the kind of general gist there, Jock, if you want to have a wee look at Aaron's there, you can see the kind of the heat map, and I think this is kind of apparent what I was saying about flair players, exciting players. You can see the heat map there. He's just not getting forward as much as the likes of Yilmaz, as much as the likes of Jeffrey. So is this boy the right fit for us, really, when you look at that?
When you look at that, yeah, I mean, it's staring you in the face, isn't it? He's up and down the pitch constantly. Obviously, you could start his comparisons with Jeffrey and Yilmaz. Jeffrey's obviously doing that more. But obviously that's last season's stats, isn't it? So it's not really a true reflection of how this new style's being implemented. But certainly, if that's it's what we're looking to deploy here, and that's what we're expecting from both sides, left and right. So yeah, fits the mold and fits a profile certainly, from what you see there.
Yeah, Billy, something for you, mate. The kind of mold I'm looking at, the kind of way they were playing, I'm looking at somebody like a modern day Sasa Papac, where we've taken someone who doesn't really want to adventure us forward as much as obviously you're looking at Makoma, Jeffrey, Yilmaz, but you're looking at somebody who can really defend, who's comfortable in the ball, who is that 6, 7 out of 10 every single week, robust defending, will not let you down as much. And Papac obviously was signed as a centre half, but we developed him into a left back. Would you be of the same opinion of that? You get anything different you want to say about that?
Sasa Papac just makes me smile. Just the thought of that solid, reliable, the kind of player that now would probably be well over 10 million just for somebody that plays like that. I mean, yeah, I think in reality we are going to need attacking players, because that is the style. It's the style that Martin's been brought in to play. It's the style that the 49ers want. What I find interesting about these sort of heat maps is, like again with Magoma, there's that 70% of the stats are from youth football, and how many players have we seen come through from the youth team looked pretty good, and then the step up is so big they don't make it. So I'm a wee bit wary. I'm not saying, again, not anything against it. The guy's a player. I just don't know what to make of the information we have. What I find interesting about these, like in terms of the heat map, are the red bits where they're actually dangerous, or just where they're spending more time? Because like I've seen Jeffrey go up and down in those areas. I've seen him in those areas. I've seen him in the bottom half, like tripping over his own feet and letting the opposition in. I've seen him up in that heat map in the top half, not doing very much. So, there's statistics, and I find it interesting that Jeffrey looks great there, but I think a lot of the time his end product in the final third against the opposition wasn't all that. So he might have been there, but it's one thing getting there, it's another what you actually do with it. So that'll be interesting to see. And again, Yilmaz looks pretty decent there, but we all know what we saw week in, week out.
Yep. Well, so it looks as if Jeff does pretty much, the deal's done. I think they've kind of verbally agreed. He's probably in Brazil at the moment getting things finalised. How would you sum up his time? Were you disappointed what he brought? Obviously financially, you're talking 750% profit on what we've got, which can't be shied away from. But are you disappointed to see him go? Because would there be more on the table?
Yeah, 100%. I think I am quite disappointed to see him go. I think the player that we saw in pre-season last year, which we were all pretty sceptical of and worried about, actually turned into, at times, quite an effective player. Look, there's no doubt that he fell asleep at times in concentration, and probably desire are things that are questioned about Jeff Day. I don't think any of us would doubt the fact that he has quality, he has pace, and he's a reasonably good, tackler, firm in the tackle. I think we've got to remember he's only 21 as well, and he was thrown into a team that was very much underperforming and asked to do a role that was probably far more than what he imagined when he first came into the team and what everyone imagined. So I definitely think there's a player there. I would have liked to have seen him, and I said it a few times, deployed either as a left winger. I know they tried it, but it was normally Yilmaz that was sort of the left wing back, and then Jeff Day sort of tucked in. But I would have liked to have seen him on the right wing, cutting in on his left foot a bit, where we had, Ross McCausland playing on the right, or I remember when Cherney was injured for a period of time. I would have liked to have seen whether Jeff Day could have been effective at coming into on that left foot, Gareth Bale-esque, and sort of pinging a few shots at goal and creating a bit of a different dynamic in that final third. I think he probably would have been effective at that and maybe less strenuous on his defensive abilities. But I think there's no doubt there's a player there. We obviously heard earlier, sort of mid last season, that even Chelsea was sniffing about. So there's definitely been teams monitoring his progress and his development. And, if he does go, then we wish him the best and hope that he's learned a few things at Ibrox. As I say, all I can hope is that we reinvest the money from him into not loan signings, but permanent players that will be here for 5-6 years that we can build a team around, because there's just not that many in the team now that you would go, let's build a team around this player. It's obviously very early in the season to sort of say that amongst some of the newbies that have come in. You might say Cameron sort of fits that mold as someone that you can rely on, depend on. You can imagine they're going to be here for 3 or 4 years and develop. Let's look to keep them in and supplement them with players around them. I just hope that when we do bring someone in, it's someone like that. An ideal replacement for me would be someone about 23, 24 years old. Maybe they've kind of dropped down a division from the Premier League, or they're from somewhere else in Europe that have played in the European competitions and have proven to be a resilient defender. I think you can teach a lot about going forward with the ball. I think defending is something that's quite hard to build in. You kind of have that defensive instinct or you don't. So that would be the profile I'd be looking at. So I'd like to see someone like that coming in and Magoma supplement that with a bit of youth and get minutes in his legs in sort of more of the tertiary tournaments and competitions that we play in.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're looking probably the guts of 10 million quid here by the time Jeff Day and Yilmaz, if the transfers go through. That's a right healthy budget to spend on the left back department, especially when you've got Makoma already there. And I'm sure there'll be somebody in the youth team that will be, in the academy that'll be able to cover as a third choice, much like Robbie Fraser was for us. So, it gives us a healthy budget to go out there and sign somebody permanently. And you need to spend the full 10 million. There's options out there. So see, something, Jock, I'm going to come to you now on this next slide here. This is something that Ross had mentioned earlier about signing players that, with Scottish League experience, and these were two kind of. Owen Beck was someone who's obviously linked Taylor on in the summer. It didn't happen. Whether or not it was just a case that we couldn't get players moved on quick enough, or maybe a lack of interest from the player himself to come back and play Scottish football. And then we've got James Penrice here, which was very much spoken about within the kind of fan circle and the social media side of things. That a lot of people thought that we should be looking at him. Allegedly a Rangers fan growing up, and obviously available for a nominal fee from Hearts. So just pick a couple of points out of this one. I'm personally very, very surprised at Penrice's stats. I'm actually quite disappointed we never got him.
Yeah, obviously if you look at the graphs between the two, it's night and day, really, isn't it? Penrice is actually quite surprising. The high 90%, 85%, and touches and chances created, which is what we want from our left back and right back, is chances created, isn't it? It's a high percentage. They're key to how we play football and have been across the years, no matter what manager we've had. And again, both of them have got plenty of experience in this league, so I don't think any fan would begrudge us outlaying a sum of money for either or. I know Beck obviously signed that new contract with Liverpool. They obviously see him as potential to break into that team at some point down the line, probably obviously next year when he returns from his loan. But Penrice, again, for a homegrown quota and things like that, it ticks all the boxes. And for me, I think it's maybe one of these ones that we've maybe missed a trick with him there, and he could have come in and certainly done a job for us.
Yep. Billy, what's your take on these stats, mate? Any comments on them? You might do, pal.
Yeah, I was just saying Penrice has the look of here's what you could have won, because he certainly on that like graph, he looks like exactly what we would need. I mean, again, difficult. You're comparing sort of apples and oranges in some ways, because Beck's had like 4 or 5 years of like loans at different clubs, and he'll be going into presumably different situations, different setups. He's not getting settled, etc., and potentially playing at a higher level. But I think a lot of us have had the bugbear for a number of years now that successful Rangers teams have had a Scottish identity, not necessarily a like all Scots or predominantly Scots, but they've had that sort of sense of players who know the league, players who know what the club's all about, and not to be reductive, but players, if Penrice is growing up a Rangers fan, then he gets it, in a way that I think, genuinely, I think that the teams that tend to win the league in Scotland have a healthy contempt for the opposition, and I think a lot of the time we sign nice guys who are here at a big club and think the stadium's nice and shiny, and the league's a wee bit sort of agricultural, but they'll do it a couple of years here. Someone who actually wants to make a name for himself, someone who's got the background and has that sort of cultural background, does actually give you an extra 5%. And he was, I'm a member of the Swedish RSC, and I'll give credit to one of the guys there. Admittedly, he's been saying we were going to sign Shankland for 5 years, and he absolutely had it from the inside last year that we were signing him. He put a bet on, and he told everyone in the group, and then went very quiet. But he was banging on about Penrice for a couple of years, saying we should definitely get him. Looking at those stats, he looks like maybe one that's fallen through the cracks, maybe in the change of regime in terms of what we have been looking at and what we're looking at now. Maybe we would be looking at him if he was still at Hearts, but definitely he's the kind of player I think we need a few of in the squad at the very least. And you see it with the likes of like Cameron and Curtis, the Scottish players look, even what they may be lacking experience or quality at the moment, you're getting a lot more gas out of them than you maybe get out of some players. So, it's a read it and weep situation with Penrice there.
Yeah, I definitely think Curtis is a prime example of the influence that he had in the 10 minutes that he was on the park for on Saturday. But we said we would mention Saturday, so I'm not going to talk anymore. Ross, any comments on the slides here? You mentioned that dipping into the Scottish market was something you'd like to see. Did you have anyone in particular you were thinking of?
Yeah, it was Penrice really that I thought that was probably someone that we could have looked at. Glad you come on this slide. I think if you look at, and this is a bit of a daft thing to say, right, but if you look at really successful Rangers teams in the past, we've not always had the most glamorous of wing backs. We've had solid, dependable, defensive-minded wing backs, and obviously Penrice seems to be in the higher percentages for a lot of the duels and defensive actions, whilst offering that forward thinking approach as well. So it seems like he would have been a real good shoe-in. You've got to think that 90% of our games, 85% of our games are going to be in the league, and it has to be our priority. So it surely makes sense to bring someone in who can play against those players. It sounds so daft, and I think we all get impatient when you get new owners and you want new sparkly things, but sometimes what you need is quality, reliability, and someone that understands how to approach a game against Dundee or Motherwell, to use two recent examples. And I just don't know whether players coming in from abroad are thinking about how I can get forward and get more assists or create trouble in the forward third, when actually, do you know what, we've bought players like Gassama, Antman, Asgard. We've got players to do that role. They just need the sort of the stability at the back to stop conceding goals. And if you look at where a lot of the goals have come from recently, it has either been sort of primarily from right back or left back, or a defensive mistake that's led to it. So for me, stability and a lot of that will be from players who have played in these environments before. And it's maybe not the prettiest and sexiest thing to say, but unfortunately that is just the case. And as soon as you can build a solid and dependable back line, then the rest of it becomes things that you can tinker and work with and tweak. But you need that foundation, and at the minute we just don't have it. So for me, I would really like to see someone who is trustworthy, reliable, and if they can get forward and supply, then great. But if not, at least we're not shipping goals like we are at the minute, or chances anyway, because you come up against some of these big teams in Europe, and as soon as you have your Jeff Day asleep once, they'll just target him, all game. We saw it with Tavernier and in the Old Firm in previous years when he has been targeted with sort of Maeda's pace. And you just need someone who is able to sort of stem that and allow us to build out from the back, which is obviously a part of what Russell Martin's sort of style of play is, building out from the back progressively. Yeah.
Definitely. I think it's a lot of it for me to do with a language barrier. I mean, I think there was another one of our kind of fellow podcasts that I was watching that, and they were suggesting that one of the problems that we're having with Oscar Cortez just now is just a language barrier, that, the guys are coming and they're trying to coach him at the side of the park, and it just doesn't seem to be taking on what they're trying to do. And it's, they're basically, it could be something simple as like, and going into the Scottish market, these guys are completely acclimatised to play in our league. They're ready to go as far as kind of expectations are concerned of what the league's all about, as far as our expectations of fans are concerned. I can't understand why we don't shop in the market as much more. That we're looking at guys potentially like Penrice that we've lost that have gone abroad, and we could talk about, the likes of Lewis Ferguson, till you're blue in the face. But then you look at someone like Lyle Cameron, where it's clear as the rose in your field. Lyle Cameron probably wasn't the biggest midfield talent in Scotland last year. Everyone was talking about Lennon Miller, who's now getting the big move abroad. But look how well Cameron has done for us. I'm fully expecting him to start tomorrow night. So I think we need to get this kind of snobbery, whatever it is, that these guys aren't good enough, because they are. All right. We'll come on to the next thing. Let's have a wee chat about tomorrow night. We're really looking forward to it, obviously. Jock, I'll come to you first of all. Let's get your team line up here. You've got Makoma in there.
Yeah, I've fired him straight in. 100%. I figured why not?
Talk me through your goalkeeper and talk me through your defence to start with. I'll go around the boys, then we'll go through department by department.
So went for Butland, obviously. Why? Because he's probably our most informed player this season. Tavernier, Jigga, Suter, and I went for Magoma because he's natural possession. I figured why not throw him in, see how he gets on. Asgard was more just because I'm interested to see how he does, because I know he's available now to play. Raskin again speaks for himself, and then it's just you highlight it there just before we come on the slide. Cameron again for me is probably earned his right in that team, and has done for the last couple of games now. Antman and Gassama both proven themselves the last couple of games in the Champions League. And Egeman is just something I think we're crying out for up front, and it's just mobility, ability to hold up the ball, and just that goal threat just offers far much more than what Dessers and Danilo do. So that's my team.
Brilliant. See, just before I come on to you, Billy, I'm understanding there's a wee bit of problems with YouTube tonight. So for those that are just joining us, apologies if you've been affected by these problems. Bear with us for the technical difficulties. I believe it's not a Rangers Journal problem, it's a YouTube problem. So obviously we're available on X, Facebook as well. So if you're further experiencing problems with YouTube, you can jump onto one of the different platforms and catch us there. Billy, sorry to keep you, but talk us through your defence. But I think the goalkeeper picks himself at this moment in time, so let's talk you through your defence.
Well, just to be clear on this, this is my expected 11. It's not necessarily what I would pick or hope for, but it's what I think will play.
I'm looking at this Tavernier left back, mate. I'm expecting a good explanation for this, pal.
Well, it's I've got Aarons at left back, so
sorry, forgive me. I'm looking at Ross. Ross, you're next.
So you can put that one in, Ross.
Sorry, forgive me.
I mean, admittedly, Aarons is not going to be a popular choice at left back either, because he hasn't looked comfortable there. But what I would say is Russell Martin's come in, he's looked at the three left backs we've got, Jeff Day, Yilmaz and Robbie Fraser, and he has not fancied any of them. So Aarons, even though he has been fourth choice, that's what he's gone with. He's then gone in a game against Alloa. Sorry, I have to mention it. And he's given Bailey Rice a run out. So there's your fifth choice. And then eventually the second half he's lobbed Tavernier on, and okay, it's lower league opposition, etc. So there's kind of like your sixth choice. So I think just by process of elimination, I don't think Russell Martin is happy about putting Aarons in at left back. He can see what we can all see. I just think I know there's the kind of the gung-ho sort of let's throw McGowan in, and adrenaline and the new club thing might carry him through. Equally, he is very light in experience. At this level, he doesn't have any. And it's the kind of, it's all very well saying that we're the kind of support. If he has an absolute nightmare, it could be a long road back for him. So I don't think it would be responsible to a 19-year-old who's played 12 games. I'm not Russell Martin. I don't see him in training. The guy might come in and look like a world beater, and Russell Martin's instinct says he's playing. So I'm not saying he won't. Just with it being on the outside and sort of guessing at it, I think it's very risky for a kid that age. I think with Aarons, everyone knows he's playing out of position, and that it's more out of necessity than anything else, because Russell Martin said, he said that Jefty had been told what he needed to do in terms of his game to get in the team. And clearly he either isn't capable of or doesn't want to do it because he's off. So, for me, Butland chooses himself. Giga and Suter, I think that's fairly non-controversial. Tavernier, I think for a game like this, I'd be going with Tavernier right back and Aarons at left back. I'm hoping Tavernier doesn't play as much this season, because I think it will be a bad sign if he does. But I think for tomorrow night, yep. In the midfield, Raskin and Cameron, I think that's fairly.
I'll come back to you on the midfield, mate.
Okay. I'll leave it at that.
Yep, we're good. We're doing defence. Don't skip too far ahead. Ross, I'll come to you, mate. Tavernier was introduced on Saturday at left back. And then came out in the second half also at left back, but it seemed to only last about maybe another 10-15 minutes before we went back to the Aarons left back, Tavernier right back. Talk me through your thoughts at Tavernier at left back, Nick.
Out of necessity, Ryan, more than anything. So I think Aarons has been extremely poor at left back. Aaron, should I say? I think he's been really, really bad. So. And also Aarons and Antman seem to link up a couple of times in the previous European games, especially Pilsen. So there's probably something forming there, which is pretty good. I think Aarons seems so much more comfortable on the right. And I think throwing the young lad Magoma in for his debut in such a big tie, it's just unfair on the kid. I think it really is. He either comes out with the slim chance that he's had an absolute stormer and really sets his stall out, which I'd love to see, but I just think it's a little bit. It's quite harsh on the guy, and it kind of screams a bit of desperation. Whereas I think Tavernier, you know what you're getting. He offers, what he offers. He'll know that role, and it's just one other leader on the pitch in what is a really, incredibly important match for us. This one is huge. It's come very early in the season, but I think having more leaders on the pitch and having Suter next to him as well, he can help guide him a little bit. I think it could work out all right. You've obviously got Kasama up ahead of him as well. I'll come on to midfield in a minute, but I think they could probably link up a little bit. He's not going to be someone that's going to hit the byline, so I think it may be that it would probably revert to a 3 and maybe have like an asymmetrical kind of dynamic when Aarons goes forward. But I just think having more leaders on the pitch, not throwing Magoma in, and also getting Aarons out of that left back position is what's drawn me to that. And obviously, I would think Martin's maybe thinking that way slightly as well, given the fact that he tried it. So we'll see. I would be more comfortable going with that than with Aarons at left back.
Yeah, I see a logic behind him. Obviously, the inverted fullbacks, he's finding himself more in the park than up the park at the moment as well. So I can see the logic behind it. Jock, a couple of your midfield there. Raskin and Cameron, I can't argue with you, mate. Asgard, though, does it represent a bit of a risk? He's obviously come back after a layoff. He's only played half an hour for us, if that. Do you think it's too much of a risk putting him in right from the start here?
I don't know. As is my opinion, I just want to see the guy play football, because he's one of the bigger outlays we've had this season. And obviously it's been stunted because of that early injury he got. So I'm just desperate to see him play, and that's why I stuck the guy in at left back too, because I just want to see these guys in the pitch and see how they get on and see what they bring that's different, because we've seen Dio in the team this season too many times, and he's just not delivering and he's not providing enough. So why not give Asgard, if he's only played 30 minutes, so give him 45 minutes, 55 minutes this game, see how he gets on, because he's going to need those minutes in the legs anyway. So why not a game like this where he can go and make a name for himself in that short space of time, and shows what he can do, especially at a packed Ibrox. I mean, that's he outlined that himself in the press conference. So, let him talk the talk, so to say.
Yep. Bill, I'll come to you next. Jock says that Diamandi's played too many games or seen him too often. You've got him starting. Let's justify it, mate.
Well, he hasn't been great this season. I think Dio, a lot of his best games have been in Europe because he has that ability on the half turn and he can wriggle past a few players. What I will say, hands up, if Asgard was in the team, settled and firing the way we're all hoping he was going to, I would have him in ahead of Dio. However, this is the expected lineup, and I'm looking at a situation where Asgard has come in and he's played 20 odd minutes against Alloa after a month-long injury. Now, nobody, maybe you guys know, but I haven't heard the details of the injury. But it was a wee injury, and then it kind of was week after week after week. So he's come in. He has missed a lot of the games where the team's been getting up to speed, and he's had 20 minutes. You saw a wee bit of what he was about against Alloa, but 20 minutes against tired lower league opposition. I do not see a month's injury followed by 20 minutes against Alloa in any way as preparation for starting against Brugge. What I would say is Russell Martin likes this, and I quite like the idea too. He likes pace and options on the bench as well as in the team. He played the Gassam card really well in earlier European games, when the opposition were starting to get tired. I'm sure the last thing you want as an opposition defender is when you're starting to get knackered and your opponent is slowing down a bit, is to see Rangers bringing on potentially Osgaard and Moore. And I think that's where we're more likely to see those two is if the game is going the way we hope and there's 20 minutes to go, that's when you maybe take off Antman or Gassam if they've run the race. And then you can see Osgaard when the opposition, as Russell Martin says, has been softened up a bit, because I don't think physically it would be good to put this is a Brugge side that press well and they're organised and they're levels above what we've played this season. And I just think for a guy that's played 20 minutes after a month out, way too risky for me. But I would hope we might get to see him come on for the last 20 minutes or so. Same with Moore.
Yep. Well, it's just one for you, mate. Obviously, Asgard starting the same as Jock. They are fitness-wise. You've left Joe Rothwell out.
I have.
What's your thoughts there?
Yeah, I think the reason that I've gone with this team is that I think there will be moments tomorrow night where it is very much backs to the wall. I do think that'll happen. And I would have probably put, and this might surprise you, Diamonde in over Rothwell, because I think Rothwell, he is quite slow at moving the ball. And I think Diamande's maybe got a bit more in the tank in terms of getting around the pitch a bit more. Not that he does anything with it, but getting around the pitch. The one thing about Asgard that I think has put him ahead of Diamonde for me is that when I saw him against Alloa, he was so direct with his movements. He was taking the ball and he was really going at the defence a couple of times. Now, not saying that it was really coming to anything, but on the chances when we are backs to the wall and we need to move the ball quickly, I think Diamande and Rothwell prefer a slower build-up, whereas I think Asgard's more direct, youthful, energetic, and will get the ball forward quicker. And I think we really need to be more penetrative in the way we move the ball forward against, when they're unsettled. Because as soon as they get into a set shape and we're trying to break them down, I think we'll struggle. So that's the reason that I've put Asgard in. Raskin, I think in the 6 is his best position. I think he'll do a good job in there and break up play against Belgian opposition. He should understand how they play a bit. And then Cameron as that sort of utility, moving in and out and almost like the sort of that 10 role that can sort of knit things together slightly. So I think between the three, you've got a nice balance of industry in Raskin, directness in Asgard, and a bit of creativity and guile in Cameron. The only question would be, is that enough defensively? You don't want to get overrun in midfield. I guess it just depends whether or not we set up with a double in midfield. But it seems as though Martin's quite against that and rather the sort of staggered 3 approach of the sort of 6, 8 and 10. So given that, that's who I've got in midfield. I hear you though on the fresh legs, and I think Asgard can do that. Sorry, I think it was yourself, Billy, that said that. I do think he could do that job as well if needed, but I'd like to see him get a chance in Europe. He'll be full of energy and fully motivated to put his stamp on a European competition that he's never played in before.
Right. Well, we've all went for the same wingers, so there's no point in asking you why, because it's obvious why. But Jock, I'll come to you. Mikey Moore was a lot of people's man of the match this Saturday. Where do you see him? And obviously, he's missed out. Is he missed out narrowly? Is he missed out by a mile for you? What's your thoughts on leaving Moore out?
Yeah, he's missed out narrowly, only because of the whole registration carry on. I think he probably would have featured in the the first two legs against Pleasant. For me, as Billy says, somebody like that coming on with 20 minutes, 25 minutes, half an hour to go, and then they're sort of starting to feel a wee bit leggy. It's not somebody you want to see coming on, because they're going to terrorise you, especially being the home team. We're expected to be on the ball and being attacking. That's going to play into our hands. I think it'll play into his hands as well, because that's where he's got most of his experience with Spurs last year, was European football. So, he kind of took it to like a duck pick water last year. So I'm hoping we see sort of similar tomorrow night. Ant-Man and Gassama, both, they've got goals, they've got assists. We know what they bring to the table. Moore's still that. We've seen it in clips. We've seen it in small pieces there against Ala, but that's Alloa. So it'll be interesting to see how he fares going forward tomorrow night. But I do think it'll be a pain in the backside for these guys.
Yep. Billy, do you see a part for Finlay Curtis tomorrow night? Obviously came off the bench Saturday, scored after 10 minutes. He scored at Panathinaikos earlier in the season. He's playing without fear. He's a hot prospect. Do you see him having a part to play at some point tomorrow night?
Potentially. I mean, if you're Russell Martin, you're looking at someone that gets you goals and doesn't just get you goals. But I don't know if anyone's seen what his stats are for like chance conversion, but he gets a chance, he seems to tuck it away. I heard someone saying that on Saturday when he was played through, they thought he's scoring. I've got to be honest, I thought it was too tight an angle for him to score, and he still got it in. So I think, if you're a manager, you build up trust in players. If you start to find you've got a player who, whenever you put them on, they get you a goal when you need a goal, that's got to start to register. So, I could definitely see him having a part to play. Again, maybe in that last 30 minutes when the game's a bit stretched or the opposition are a wee bit tired. And it does, I know there's a lot of things we're kind of still not sure about, but it does sort of gladden the heart a bit that we are filling this team with pace and threat. So we're not talking about Cherney as being the outlet, and that's it. That's the pace and that's the outlet. We're talking about, Ant-Man and Gassama and Moore and Asgard, and potentially bringing on, like subs who can make a difference. So I think this is very encouraging. That we're talking about, right, where are we after 60 minutes, right? If we haven't got the game where we want it, we can still throw on players who will run at them and will run them ragged and hopefully do some damage. So I'm liking, we haven't won anything, but I'm liking the way the team is getting this youth and this energy and pace into it, because it has made my brain bleed in recent years watching the team and watching them plod their way up the park and take 2 or 3 passes to get to a space you can see from the stand like 10 seconds before. So no, I could see him having a chance to play, because he finishes like a striker at the moment.
Yep. Well, so I think we're all making good noises about our options going forward at the moment. We're not really. It's great to have options in the middle of the park and options in the wing. Are you happy with what we've got? Do you think we still further need to strengthen? I'm looking at Oscar Cortez's participation on Saturday, and I'm thinking, do we need one more winger to just get us to where we really need to be?
Is that to me?
To Ross, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
It's a really tricky one. I mean, where do you pitch that winger at? Do you want a proven veteran who's been there and done it? Because we've got the youth covered. Gassam and Ant-Man and Moore and Asgard, who could probably play out wide, are all probably off the bucket of maybe not Ant-Man, but unproven youth, high potential. You've got Finlay Curtis there as well. So I think if you're going to bring someone in, it's probably going to be someone that can play on either wing and has probably done it at a reasonable level and is probably closer to 30, if not slightly above 30, that's maybe been around the block a bit and could teach a thing or two. Would be the only thing. Or you look at a striker who could also play out wide. That's maybe the option that you maybe go down. Yes, we'd all like to see someone come in that has incredible stats and incredible performance and is tearing it up and highly sought after through Europe, but I just don't think at the minute that's the player that we're going to get in. So if it's just another shirt that's going to be in there, then probably not for me.
Do you think he's already in the building with Bajrami? Obviously, man of the match in the stadium on Saturday. You think he might be the guy you think going in at left-hand side? He's already here.
That's maybe the sort of experience that, it doesn't look like he's going anywhere. So maybe that fills that void. Look, he did do well. He sort of, I actually thought it was pretty good the other week as well when he came on and just held the ball up quite a lot. Him and Danilo did a good job at that away in Pilsen. So, look, maybe that's what he is. And maybe he just needs that time and out of the spotlight a bit to sort of really refresh himself and come in and do that job. But I would like to see someone in the forward line. I don't know if we're coming on to that now, but I would like to see someone in the forward line come in because,
well,
I just...
I think, personally, I think that game is going to be won and lost between Ant-Man and Gassama. I think that's basically, if these two show up and they fire, I think we've got a right good chance. I don't know if you would agree with that yourself, mate.
Yeah, I think so. I think... the game against Pilsen, they were pretty much unplayable. I thought both of them caused havoc. I particularly liked it when they came out of their natural position. I think Ant-Man showed really good intuition in coming out a few times and dragging defenders away, creating gaps for others to run through, which was really encouraging. And that's probably one thing that we've lacked, which is sort of movement away from the natural position and pulling defenders apart, being a bit rigid in the forward third. So, yeah, completely agree with you.
Brilliant. Jock, Eagleman, I thought he changed. I don't want to say I thought he changed the game. That's the wrong way. I thought he changed the tempo of the game when he came on Saturday. You could definitely see the golfing class between who we took off and obviously bringing on him. But again, like Asgard, Makoma, you're going high risk here, mate. Talk to me.
I don't think it is high risk, to be fair. I don't know. I think he's a young lad, and all these guys need these minutes and these legs. This is why we need to get them up to speed, because we're not as if we're playing bounce games in between. The games are coming thick and fast, and everybody's got to share the load. But obviously, we want to give our best quality players those minutes. Yeah. And this is the games that he has the ability to thrive in, because we've seen it. We've seen it last season. He can do things that nobody else up front can, and he can create things, and he can create situations where other people benefit of it. And I think people like Gassama and Ant-Man will thrive with him up front because he has that quality and he has that drive. Just a beast, isn't he? He's just a totally different animal to what we have, and I'm just desperate to see him playing a Rangers shirt for as long as possible before he does ultimately leave. And I just want to get the best out of him before he does go. And this is a game that suits him to a T, I think. Yeah,
definitely. Billy, coming to you, mate. You've obviously chosen Dessers. We're not even sure if he's going to be available or not. I don't think we've actually had a definitive answer on it. I don't know if that's maybe been deliberate from the club to leave Bruges guessing on who they're going to be playing. You've obviously left Danilo out. Talk me through why Dessers and not Danilo.
Well, I mean, Dessers on form, injured. You could leave him sitting in the 18-yard box and he'll score a hat-trick. Equally, Dessers fit, could miss 20 chances. But I've always been a Dessers fan because I think he scores goals that other strikers probably wouldn't. And I think one of the things that people maybe forget about Dessers when they talk about the missed chances, they talk about the chances that Dessers miss as if another striker would make the same chance or be in the same position. And I'm not sure that's the case with certain strikers. I think a lot of the time he's missing chances that other strikers just wouldn't get themselves in the position to score. I think the injury side of things, that's interesting because he looked like he was definitely out of the running, and then there's the possibility. Danilo, I have no issue with Danilo. I think he looked quite okay when he came in, but between the injuries and the kind of the series injuries and the drop off in form, he just looks like he's in the wrong movie at Rangers now. We might get a goal out of him if we played him, but I don't see a long term future for him. And I feel sorry for the guy because, one of the injuries he got being extremely brave, like scoring a header when he was coming back from a previous injury, and he was so eager, he scored that header and basically ends up, like in a face mask. So I don't think anyone could fault his work ethic or his bravery. What I would say, just in terms of like Dessers versus Igaman, is I think Russell Martin said something, I think it was the weekend, that he kind of let his slip show a wee bit. I think he was talking about Igaman, and he talked about him doing, like, it was either silly things or something of that ilk.
Doing something mad, he said.
Yeah, and it was nutmegging the guy, and he very quickly turned it around. He's very good with the kind of the media. And after going, he'd done something mad, nutmegging the guy, he went, it's fantastic to see him doing that. But I think in the second where he said that, what you were actually seeing was a manager frustrated that this guy's got all the talent in the world. But I think for Russell Martin, he is taking a touch and trying to beat a man where in the Russell Martin system, he wants the ball moved on or he wants something else done with it. And I think if you're a manager and you're setting up your whole team to get the ball to certain places as fast as possible, and then you see it going to this undoubtedly talented, exciting individual, and he's like, I'm going to nutmeg a guy, we're all up out our seats and think that's great when it comes off. Russell Martin might have a different take in that. And I got the sense when he was talking about Igaman at the weekend that he was a wee bit frustrated that the talent is there, but he may not fit the system. So that's why, I think he's got a role to play. Love watching him. You're excited when he's on the ball. He's got that maverick quality where, he can score a worldie and he can do something mad. I just wonder if for Russell Martin, he would, given a chance, he'd take 15 million quid and get, Dorst Turgeman or someone that fits his system in. And I just thought when he said that at the weekend, how often do you hear a manager describe what their players doing as mad? Or, to me that he was trying to make a positive of it, but I sensed there was a wee bit of frustration underneath. And that's why I would see Dessers in before Igaman tomorrow if he's fit.
Yep. I don't even think Alex Ferguson even described Cantona's incident at Selhurst Park as mad. That reminds of they try to nutmeg him. But anyway, well, it's coming to you, mate. You've brought in Dessers. Everyone's ignored Danilo, not surprisingly, given his performance the weekend. I was listening to David Edgar at Heart and Hand, and I think he was quoting and saying basically time's up for Danilo. If he can't do it and perform and basically give problems to Alloa, how do we expect him to do it against Club Brugge, Celtic at the end of the month, possibly getting into the Champions League? Do you think Danilo's time's up at Ibrox, given the fact you've left him out?
Yeah. Out of the three, I would be most comfortable with Danilo leaving. I don't know if there's any suitors out there for him, but if there was, then I would prefer that Danilo went out of the three. I think Dessers provides something. He's not everyone's cup of tea, and that's been the most overused statement probably in podcasting history on this channel. But I do think that he does offer something. And in Europe, he has been able to sort of get at some teams and scored some cracking goals. So for me, I've put Dessers in. I think Igaman potentially on his own, just coming back from injury, would be a big gamble putting him up there. No doubt the boy has probably the most talent of anyone in our squad, if not in Scotland. But I still think that in this instance, Dessers with, there was a couple of times against Pulse and when he was really strong against their defenders and managed to keep the ball up the pitch a bit, which I thought was quite impressive. His work rate's fantastic. Martin's seen his sort of professional nature in the way that he goes about his business. So I think he'll be trusted with the number 9 or the starting berth, shall I say, tomorrow night if he's fit. If not, I think it will be Danilo who will be asked to hold up play, which Danilo does seem to do quite well, and get the ball wide. I just worry with Danilo, for a centre forward, his lack of kind of potency and predator instinct is a concern. Whether or not that's the system, and he'd rather get the ball wide and allow those players to be a bit more penetrative or not. But I like my centre forward to be on the sort of the coattails of the centre backs. Really always ready to dart in and make a move and sort of run across that line, pull defenders away. And I think Danilo prefers dropping in short, releasing it, and trying to spin. I've noticed he has lost quite a bit of pace as well. He doesn't really seem like he's got that rapid turn of pace that maybe he would have had. And also when he does get the chance, he seems to hit a very tame shot. I don't think I've ever seen him hit the ball particularly hard. And I just worry that on those moments when the ball is flashed across the box. I think there was a few actually against Pilsen when we had breakaways and he just didn't have the pace to get to where he needed to be, which is a concern because those chances you can't afford to dish those ones up in Europe.
Even after coming off the bench, because you should be fresh legs. There was breaks. The cross was coming in. It was a cutback, and he's like 3-4 yards behind the ball. And that's the guy that's not even played in the 90 minutes in the heat in the stadium and stuff like that. So, no, I agree with everyone. Just keep an eye on the clock, guys. We're just going to come round you all just very quickly. Jock, your final thoughts and your prediction for tomorrow night, please.
Final thoughts is it's going to be a tough one. This is going to be a different animal than what we faced in the pre-season game, I think. The quality's there. They're further up to speed as a unit than we are, I think. And my score prediction, I'm going to say 2-2. I think there'll be goals. We're going to score. We always score European games at Ibrox. We always do. We'll have chances. I'll go 2-2 and then leaving it completely in the balance in the next leg.
Same as the friendly then. Same as the friendly. Yeah. Billy, thanks very much, mate. What's your thoughts and your score, please?
I know you banned us from mentioning Alloa, but you have to say that set pieces we just look like we're handing goals out. So I struggle to see us keeping a clean sheet against a team that's had a week off and kind of been well coached. I'm hoping for like a 2-1. So I see them scoring, hoping the Ibrox energy takes us over the line and we go there with a lead. So I'll say 2-1.
Brilliant. Ross, thanks for your time tonight, mate, and your scores and your final thought, please, mate.
Yeah, no worries. I think, I guess reflections are we have got the players in the building to make a real good stab of it tomorrow night. I think you mentioned that earlier, Ryan. So that's one positive. I think if we can keep it tight at the back, which is a big if, and that would be refreshing to see if we can. But if we can, then we could really get something out of it. I still think they probably will score, but I think if we get an early goal, it forces them slightly to come out. I'm going to go with 3-1 Rangers tomorrow night.
Yep, I'm also going to go 3-1. I think Sam will get one, definitely. I think Dessers, if he plays, will get one as well. So I'm confident and see what we can do. But we've just got to show up, because when it works, it really works. We've seen against Blitzen at home. When it's great, but also when it's great, it's also very, very not great. So I just hope they entertain us, and I hope everyone travels safely and they enjoy the game. But anyway, we're going to get finished up, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Again, apologies about the YouTube problem earlier on. Some things are just out with our control. But we'll be back on tomorrow night. We've got a pre-match and a post-match, so hopefully we'll have something to smile about. Okay. Thanks very much, guys. Have a nice Rangers tomorrow night. Take care.